Yes! Yes! Yeah!
Huge floods sweep Gran Canaria, and check this out from the Serbian parliament. Get ready, Britain, here we go. I'd say that Meghan Markle was insufferable, but that would be an insult to the insufferable. Next.
Very good evening to you. It's just after 10, at 9 o'clock rather. The top story from the newsroom this evening. Well, we can start with Ukraine, and Donald Trump has confirmed that he will be speaking to Volodymyr Zelensky again following their previous meeting earlier this week. Volodymyr Zelensky says tonight that Ukraine is ready to work under Donald Trump's leadership to end the war with Russia. It follows a phone call with Sir Keir Starmer, who welcomed Mr. Zelensky's steadfast commitment, he said, to securing peace. The Ukrainian leader is also calling for a truce in the sea and the sky. That's only if, he says, Russia does the same as part of steps towards ending the conflict. It comes also as tensions between Kyiv and Washington remain high, while the White House is pausing its military aid to Ukraine. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch, meanwhile, has said that she praises the Ukrainian president for keeping a cool head in difficult circumstances. In other news, the trial of triple killer Carl Clifford has heard he raped his ex-girlfriend in a violent sexual act of spite before murdering her and her family with a crossbow and knife. The 26-year-old admitted killing Louise Hunt, her mother Carol and sister Hannah at their Hertfordshire home in July, but denies rape. Prosecutors say he carefully planned the attacks after Miss Hunt ended their relationship, and he went on to buy weapons and deceived his way into the home. Jurors were also told Louise described the relationship as sucking the life out of her before breaking up with him just weeks before the attack. That trial continues. A manhunt is underway tonight after a teenage boy was shot dead in broad daylight in Clapham. The 16-year-old was found with gunshot wounds this afternoon, but couldn't be saved. No arrests have been made so far, as police are racing to identify the victim and contact his family. Officers are also combing CCTV and appealing for witnesses, with a crime scene still in place. The Met Police says that they will work around the clock to catch those responsible. Farmers have been staging another protest in London today over Labour's inheritance tax changes, with a Pancake Day rally near Parliament. They're opposing a planned 20% tax on agricultural land worth more than £1 million, arguing it will force land sales and hurt farming families. The Met Police limited the number of tractors allowed on the march today, a decision questioned by some politicians, including Nigel Farage, who's urging farmers to put pressure on Labour MPs in rural constituencies. But the government says the plans are fair and balanced. And just before I hand you back to Patrick, the King has made a rare visit to a Royal Navy warship at sea today, meeting sailors on HMS Prince of Wales before its biggest mission yet. His Majesty flew by helicopter to the aircraft carrier in the English Channel, thanking crew for their extraordinarily valuable service. The £3 billion ship will soon set sail to Japan, leading the UK's strike group in a mission to boost defence partnerships. It's the first time in nearly 40 years, in fact, a reigning monarch has boarded a Royal Navy ship at sea.
I can only say that I take immense pride in you, the men and women who bring this vessel to life with such indomitable spirit, for your vital service on behalf of us all.
That's the news on GB News. I'll be back with you for a full roundup at 10 o'clock. Now, though, it's back to Patrick.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good evening. Tonight I want to start with something really powerful. I want to pay homage to real-life working mums. Those women out there who sacrifice it all, day in, day out, against all the odds. Women like this,
It's a real delight in being able to be a present parent. And it's a luxury sometimes because we all have to work. We all have a lot of stuff to do, but when you can take a minute to just...
Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Meghan Markle is insufferable. She's as popular as getting hardcore chafing during the first kilometre of a marathon. All you working mums out there having a hard time juggling your career and parenthood. Hey, I tell you what, just put some flipping flower petals on your food, you pathetic mother.
Before all this glaze sets, it's a nice time to, if you're gonna put sprinkles on them, this is the time to do it. Chocolate chips, anything, flour sprinkles. Stop it, how sweet is that?
I mean, how relatable is that, eh? You're a single mum of two in Basingstoke. You've just come in off the night shift and you see one of your kids outside eating worms. Your other child's actually got worms. And you turn the telly on and Meghan's teaching you how to make a rainbow fruit salad.
You see where our rainbow is coming together here? And you don't have to do a big platter of this. You could do this with one small row for your kids for breakfast, genuinely, and it makes the morning a lot more fun.
It's not even her kitchen. The people she surrounds herself with don't even seem to be her friends. One of them said, "Oh my gosh, you're so tall," which implies she's never even met her before. And where are the kids? Where are they? Who's looking after them? While she prances around relentlessly putting flower petals on stuff.
Flour sprinkles, if we must.
We mustn't. There's no need. People are scratching around to save enough money so they can buy somewhere like this on the outskirts of London. Look at that. The cast of Trainspotting would turn their noses up at that. And then in steams Meghan Markle, Little Miss Relatable, standing in the garden of some other multi-millionaire's mansion talking about pulling eggs out of a free-range chicken's backside with her bare hands before presumably sprinkling some flower petals on them to feed to her kids who've had a hard day of being looked after by the nanny in their other mansion.
People would watch this and go, oh, right, but I don't have all this space at home. And that's why I think the value of what you've done with the idea of urban farming, or even if you're just in a little flat in London or a small apartment in the city, what people can do that can feel like they have some small piece of this.
Oh, yeah, with your landscape lawn and your massive pool. And, of course, isn't it just amazing how good she manages to look while she just effortlessly glides through life?
Meghan, I want to ask about your look.
My who?
Your look. Your look, Meghan.
Oh, my Luke.
Your look. Did I not say it right?
I don't know. I mean, like, you're way cooler than I am. I don't know what you're talking. My Luke. My
Yes.
look. She likes my Luke.
Your look.
Oh, my gosh.
Your fashion is like one of my favorite things.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, look, did you see her face at the end of that? Look at it. Oh, my gosh, your style is so amazing. Oh, my gosh, it's one of my favourite things. Meghan, look, I'm here to tell you, OK? Nobody gives a foo about your look, OK? The reviews have been universally awful. The Guardian said, "Kiss the Netflix deal goodbye. With love, Meghan is so pointless. It might be the Sussex's last TV show." The New Statesman, another lefty rag, said, "This isn't her house. Are these people her friends? Can she really cook or garden or do any of the things she coos about in With Love, Meghan?" I mean, even actual mothers are panning it. A woman on Mumsnet said it made her feel inferior and like a rubbish parent. The only thing Meghan was able to do was trash the royal family, and now she's dining out on that flipping royal title again.
I don't think anyone in the world knows that Meghan Markle has eaten Jack in the Box
It's
and
so
loves
funny, too, that you keep saying Meghan Markle. You know I'm Sussex now. You have kids, and you go, no, I share my name with my children.
Yes.
And that feels so, I didn't know how meaningful it would be to me, but it just means so much to go, this is our family name, our little family name.
Meghan expressing wonder there that she has, now are you ready for this, a family name. Like all of us, We all have names. That's how humans group themselves into families. That's how we identify ourselves. And then, of course, in comes Harry. Oh, yeah. He emerges from somewhere in the garden. Presumably he chewed through his leash and unshackled himself.
Oh, there he is. Would you like some bubbles? This one? Yes, have a little bubbles. That's good, right?
You did a great job.
Thank you.
What are you doing out of the attic, Harry? Get back in the attic. Get back in there. Who let you out? It's too sunny for him for a start. Anyway, oh, well done, Meghan. You arranged some fruit on a plate. You gave kids goodie bags full of seeds and Manuka honey. And you were paid something like $100 million for it. But here's the kicker. Are you ready? Here's the subtle dig at the royal family.
I just want to raise a glass to you guys. This feels like a new chapter that I'm so excited that I get to share. And I've been able to learn from all of you. So just thank you for the love and support. And here we go, there's a business. All of that is just part of that creativity that I've missed so much. So.
Oh, yeah, so the creativity she's missed so much. So she had to leave the royal family so she could make jam, did she? Well, that's rubbish, because the royal family literally makes jam. They make their own jam and they sell it. They sell jam. You can buy the royal jam. In fact, Princess Catherine gave her jam recipe away for free. Harry and Meghan found freedom, did they? Well, I think I need to find the flipping sick bucket. With love, Meghan, which is what this abomination is called, is so bad. Even Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles might think they got a sweet deal. It just seems to confirm what we all already knew. Their life is fake, vacuous, devoid of any real friends and horrendously out of touch. They traded the royal family, our royal family, for that rubbish. Let's get the thoughts of my panel this evening. Columnist and broadcaster Esther Krakow, GBNews presenter Alex Armstrong and journalist Jonathan Liss. I mean, good grief. Look, hey, it's empowering for single mums everywhere, isn't it, really?
You are terrible.
I don't think we were trying to be so quiet over here. It was so funny.
Terrible. You know what? I died when you said Harry chewed through his knee.
No, but come on, I mean, what
Harry
is that?
chewed through his knee.
What is that? Can we just say, it's not their house. It's not her kitchen. The kids aren't...
Yeah.
All of that was designed about cooking for the kids.
Is that your sofa, Patrick?
They're not ever there. You know, but come on, mate. You know,
It's a TV studio. It's a
relatable.
TV programme.
They're
Come on.
relatable, are they? This, that, and the other. What she did...
Of all the things to criticise her for, that's not one of them.
She's arranged fruit on a plate in the shape of a rainbow.
The thing is, I thought about that and I just thought, how much time must that have taken? You're saying, like, working mums should, like, make colourful fruit. Like, that took ages. Anyway, objectively speaking, she could have been the Martha Stewart of, I don't know, Montecito.
We'll end up in jail.
Well, no, seriously. Well, before, pre-jail, before she became a convict, this woman would crumble in prison.
We've got a slight issue with your mic, which we're going to sort out right now. But, Alex, your views on this. I mean, is this just a bit of a phenomenal waste of time? Do you think $100 million about it they've been paid?
The thing is that, I mean, I watched some of those clips and I thought it was totally insufferable. I really, really did. It was so shocking just to see how Meghan just seems to think she's normal. Like, she's definitely not normal in any sense of the word, and she's selling herself as this, like, next I don't know, baker or health expert to parents and families across the country. It's just bizarre, isn't it? It really is totally bizarre.
This has been universally panned, Jonathan. I mean, The Guardian have had a go at it, you know, the New Statesman have had a go at it, everyone seems to have had a go of it. I mean, this is probably, in a competitive field, the worst thing she's ever done, no?
I just don't care. I honestly don't care, and I don't know why any of us care either. Look, this is the fundamental point.
Don't leave me hanging.
She's what?
Don't leave me hanging.
Oh, sorry, babe. Oh, sorry. Esther was reaching out her hand to me, and I shamefully failed to see it. So look, here's the thing. What we just saw is objectively quite annoying. I feel a little bit annoyed by it, to be honest, because it's not a programme for me. That kind of sort of like very, very American, kind of, you know, very sort of treacly way of interacting.
Scuff, isn't it?
It's Look, I've got friends like that. Like, I'm sure she's a perfectly nice person. Is it a programme that I would watch? No. Is it a programme that's aimed at GB viewers? Absolutely not. And to that, I just say,
it's very much my
everyone's
Patrick, who cares? Look,
that's really my. So I have a massive thing for like cooking shows, lifestyle. It's actually my thing. I love it. That's why I was saying, objectively speaking, it's not about whether you love Meghan or you hate her. You have to look at it as a project and whether she actually did a good job in this sphere. If you're going to do stuff like lifestyle influencing, Martha Stewart, all of that, you have to have some things that are new to people, that they come to you instead of just going to Martha Stewart or to the other established lifestyle brands out there. Was it original? Not really. I mean, telling me to put lavender in bags and put it in my bath, that's not really kind of a new
there's
thing.
one moment where
it wasn't very practical for like mothers, for example, to chop up a bunch of different coloured fruits. And this is not like an anti-Meghan thing. This is objectively looking at
clearly,
the work
right?
itself.
I mean, look, the reality is clearly what's happening is she's trying to do something to her image, right? She's trying to retain what's left of their image. They've had a lot of damage done to them. The American press has turned on them quite dramatically. Hollywood celebrities have turned on them quite dramatically. This is like a last-ditch attempt for Meghan and Harry to be relevant still.
I mean, the thing is,
it's not about being relevant.
Well, no, but hang on a second. Hear me out, because I think, look, her roots are clearly not as a chef, right? She's not a baker.
Yeah, what is that?
She's not a chef. That's not her home. It's not her friends.
Chickens.
Well, Nigella's not a chef either.
She wasn't saying she's a chef. She's going back to her TIG days of being like a lifestyle influencer and all of that. But that was back in the 2010s, and life has moved on. So if we're looking at this objectively, there were no real tidbits, new information.
But look, I'm just going to say one thing, and then because I also don't like talking about them. I'll put it out there because I don't like giving them attention. However, I will say this: for me, it's the fakeness and the acting, the insufferable acting, and it's so clear. British people can see straight through this. I know it's a little bit more difficult for Americans. I've lived there. I know how LA can be, but this is acting. It's absolutely horrendous. And the way she turns to her friend and goes, she basically corrects her for calling her Meghan Markle. Says, did you not know I'm Sussex now? That's basically a British.
Sorry, but I thought she wasn't. She wanted
honestly, look, this is
out of the royal family.
Look, I kind of feel it.
Oh, I'm Sussex.
Don't call me Meghan Markle.
Patrick, this is just. I kind of feel like
I love Luke, by the way.
You can hate
Luke, great.
You can hate them. You can hate them as much as you want. It's everyone's prerogative to feel how they want. But the fundamental point is that they no longer take any money from the royal family. They are not working members of the royal family. Everyone in Britain said, "We need to go and get a job," and they've got a job.
Do you think they should get rid of the Duchy title?
It's of no interest to me. It's of zero interest to me. That's between them and the king.
I agree, but do you not think they should get rid of the title? Just get rid of it.
They don't use HRH
anymore. I think it's so annoying, right, that they wasted so much capital absolutely slamming and trashing the royal family, trying to out people as these fictional racists, this, that, that, and that's what they've ended up doing with it. Seriously,
I don't care.
That is what they've ended up doing.
If there's a market, they want to earn money, right? They want to earn money. If people want to watch this, if companies want to give them money, then good luck to them. I don't care about it. It's of no interest to me. It's not something that I would watch.
All of this, oh my gosh, what we're going to do? We're going to find freedom. We're going to find freedom, right? And we're going to use that freedom to sort the world out. They have got more privilege than anyone else.
I don't understand why you care so much. Why you can switch off. You can switch off. You don't need to give it any more publicity.
Honestly, it involves her providing us with the absolute revelation. Hold on to your hats here, people, that you can put yoghurt with fruit.
Yeah.
That's what it's all been worth.
And people want to watch that, and that's up to them.
What's just as insufferable is you had Harry out the other week. He just made the surprise appearance at this event, and slammed Trump indirectly, slammed tech companies like Elon Musk indirectly. You think your whole point if you're going to America was to get some privacy, right? That's why you left. You wanted to have a separate life. You didn't want to be in the spotlight. But all they do is throw themselves.
This is television. As you just said, this is performance. It's not their real life. There's nothing real about it.
Give us our money back for the wedding.
Yeah.
If you've earned $100 million, if you've earned $100 million, give us our money back.
We can stop. We don't have to be furious about literally everything all the time. Look, they obviously had it. It was a terrible time for them, and the British media hated them. They've left now. They've left. Fine. But they've gone now. They've gone now. They're not coming back.
Years, and now look at them.
They've gone now. They're not coming back. But the media still retains this total fixation on them, which is just a little bit creepy at this stage. Like they're doing their thing, we can do our thing. We don't have to talk about them all the time. We don't have to sort of pour over them and attack them all the time. But they're not doing anything to hurt anyone. They're trying to make a job. If it doesn't work out for them, that's fine.
They're dead. Seriously, well, they've just hurt so many people, I think. And I do want the money back, 20 million quid.
Do you think there's ever a route back for them to the royal family, like as permanent members?
Not as a chef.
Whoever repays the money that was spent on a wedding?
Taxpayers' money, mate.
Whoever repays...
Well, very few of us get taxpayers to pay for our wedding.
Well, I mean, like, it was a royal event. They were members of the royal family then.
They can give it back. Now they've swanned off to Montecito.
That seems a bit petty.
It's very petty, Patrick. It's beneath you.
Seriously, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. The whole thing's ridiculous. Anyway, it's the final week to see how you could win 2 amazing in our latest giveaway.
I thought giveaways were terrible.
Each one has a brand new iPhone 16, £500 in shopping vouchers, and a whopping 10 grand in tax-free cash. Hurry, lines close on Friday.
It's just 3 days left to grab your chance to become one of 2 big winners. As we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on Friday. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck, everyone. Coming up, another vile grooming gang duo have been found guilty in Rotherham just weeks after the Home Secretary announced government-backed local inquiries into Pakistani rape gangs, but only local inquiries. I'm going to be joined very soon by the lawyer who thinks the government needs to go much, much further. But first...
20,000 troops from some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years.
US Vice President J.D. Vance there. He's been slammed for appearing to disregard the British Army's efforts in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's trying to row back, but is it a little bit too late? Where are you on this? Is America really our ally? Stay tuned.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
It's very emotional. It's designed to shock. What do you want people to take away from that advert?
I think, very sadly, a lot of people don't realise the violence and death that's prevalent in the dairy industry. For a cow to produce milk, she needs to be made pregnant, and then for humans to have that milk, the calves are snatched away. So that goes on for around 5 years. The cows are made pregnant every year. Terrible diseases occur because they are producing 10 times more milk than is natural. And then they are killed. The calves that are taken away, if they're male calves, are shot. And for the female calves, just like their mums, they're going to go through the same thing.
We've got Kelly Seaton here, who appears to have a cow nudging you, Kelly, behind you. That cow looks quite content with you.
The industry has worked incredibly hard. We have an excellent resource in that we can use sex semen, so actually the amount of bull calves that are born is a lot less than what it used to be. We're working really hard to ensure that every calf goes down the right route. So actually shooting bull calves isn't a practice that takes place any longer.
We can be kind, we should be kind.
And
We
I'm
don't
kind
need
to my kids by giving them cow's milk, which is full of vitamins A, magnesium, zinc, B12, calcium, vitamin D. This is stuff that children need to grow, isn't it, Kelly? And I think what my problem is, Ben, is that your commercial is all about emotion. It's manipulating. It's not facts. You're not laying out facts about the dairy industry.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Coming up, is it time to force a national grooming gang inquiry? But first, is America still our closest ally, do you think? Time now for the head-to-head. And the US Vice President J.D. Vance has been left scrambling, really, to swerve an almighty diplomatic rift after appearing to disregard the British Army's record in Iraq, Afghanistan, I mean, the Falklands, you could take your pick, couldn't you, really, during an interview about the Prime Minister's proposed peacekeeping force in Ukraine.
If you want real security guarantees, if you want to actually ensure that Vladimir Putin does not invade Ukraine again, the very best security guarantee is to give Americans economic upside in the future of Ukraine. That is a way better security guarantee than 20,000 troops from some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years.
So those comments caused outrage here in the UK. Even close Trump ally and Reform UK leader Nigel Farage condemned them earlier.
J.D. Vance is wrong. Wrong. For 20 years in Afghanistan, pro rata, our size against America's, we spent the same amount of money, we put the same number of men and women in, and we suffered the same losses. We stood by America all through those 20 years, putting in exactly the same contribution. And all right, they may be 6 times bigger, but we did our bit. So on this one, JD is wrong.
Yeah, so Vance rode back, though. He wrote on social media, "This is absurdly dishonest. I don't even mention the UK or France in the clip, both of whom have fought bravely alongside the US over the last 20 years and beyond." So after J.D. Vance did appear to disrespect British troops, tonight I'm asking, is America really our ally? Let me know what you think. Go to your say. But going head-to-head on this now are the British veteran of the Ukrainian army, Mesa Gifford, and the Republicans overseas spokesperson, Errol Moorcoach. Both of you, thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. Errol, I'll start with you, really. I mean, are you going to tell us that he wasn't talking about Britain and France there? Because I'm just kind of wondering who else he was talking about, really. We're the only countries who had pledged troops, I think, aren't we?
I would say this, in the context of the video, he was in a very long monologue with Sean Hannity. He made this comment offhand, implying, I think, to a general European security alliance that would come in there. Of course, he wasn't referring to Great Britain and to France. He was probably more thinking in his head, Germany, Romania, although Romania has been a huge ally in Afghanistan and stuff like that. But the idea that there was going to be a UN peacekeeping force, you've seen how well that's gone in Africa and other places as well. I mean, I am in a defense company that's done work in Ukraine. The last thing you want to do is keep influxing Western equipment and Western companies and Western businesses in there for a war effort. Donald Trump is trying to ameliorate this with an economic union. And I think that's what that's about. So J.D. Vance, if he had said that about the UK and France, I would be here condemning him too, just like Nigel. But that wasn't what he intended to say. He's come back very openly and honestly and said that. And he's a veteran, by the way, himself. And he fought hand in hand. And I have friends, by the way, who went and fought. And I have a buddy who lost a foot in Fallujah for a war that was built on a lie, by the way. And that's a huge thing for the Trump economy. And people
all right, I'll bring Mesa in. Look, Mesa, did you feel disrespected by that, do you think?
Well, me not
particularly. I do think it shows disrespect and disregard towards the British military generally. I think it highlights how the Trump administration has has very little respect for the UK generally. I mean, it's indicative of the new transactional relationship that they're trying to build with the rest of the world. They're going like a wrecking ball through their traditional allies. Canada is under sanction, so is Mexico. The EU is soon under sanction. There's no guarantee Britain will avoid sanctions. So Donald Trump has done everything to alienate his traditional allies, and instead he's offering the olive branch to Vladimir Putin, a strategic enemy of the United States. I would like to see Donald Trump, not only and his administration and J.D. Vance, apologize for those comments, but also I would like to see them engage with their allies in a much more in a better way, let's say that much.
Well, it's interesting, Errol, isn't it? Because, one of the J.D. Vance lines to Zelensky was, have you even said thank you once? Have you even said thank you once? And I do wonder whether or not, those widows who had to watch the coffins come back through Wootton Bassett because we were dragged into a war after basically America was attacked and then, the weapons of mass destruction proceeded to be a lie. Does J.D. Vance say thank you for that?
Well, I hear your point, and it's a strong point. I think that in the circumstances there, though, you saw J.D. Vance confront Zelensky, and a lot of what you saw there was red meat for the domestic base, both for Zelensky and for the Trump administration. And you saw just today that Zelensky has, come to cooler heads, and he's come back and said he's willing to sign the agreement. Made a general apology. And showed a sign of respect, and it looks like things are back on track. But I do agree with you. I think any British mother would have the same complaint to leverage at the U.S. who lied and their son or daughter died in that war. And that's something that we have to fix. And that's what the American people who voted for Donald Trump voted against. We voted against Dick Cheney. We voted against George Bush type of people. I mean, this is what Joe Biden, Obama, these people were all war people. We're the anti-war party. We want to bring peace, even if that means tough concessions.
All right. Mate, so just final word to you on this. Look, J.D. Vance did not specifically mention France or the UK in that. He did leave it quite open-ended. And ultimately, Zelensky has, well, for want of a better phrase, come crawling back, hasn't he? I mean, the Americans have actually got what they wanted so far.
Well, he every time J.D. Vance has opened his mouth, he seems to stick his foot in it. That's one of the biggest problems with him, which is not a good thing for a vice president to do. In regards to who he was talking about, Britain and France are taking the lead on this one. It is clearly Britain and France that are putting together the peace plan for Europe and the peacekeeping force. He's referring to nobody else. It takes mental gymnastics to try and say that he's pointing the finger at anyone else other than Britain and France. And at the end of the day, Zelensky did bring originally the minerals deal to the US. He will and wants to sign it. And I think that's a good thing. But I do think Donald Trump needs to change his course because at the moment he's wrecking the United States soft power.
Well, OK, all right, both of you, thank you very much. It's a bit short and sweet, but it's much appreciated nonetheless. Oh, well, we'll just say to our American friends, J.D. Vance and Trump, etc. So there are plenty of people here in this country who have gone into bat for you and stuck their heads above the parapet previously and were quite happy, really, when you got elected. And it would be a shame if you then made that very difficult for people to do going forward by saying things that could be perceived as quite offensive, actually. But coming up, less than 24 hours after Trump cut off US military aid to Ukraine, and Zelensky has come running back to the negotiating table. Is this Trump's greatest ever move? First, though, another vile grooming gang duo have been found guilty in Rotherham just weeks after the Home Secretary announced a government-backed local inquiry into Pakistani rape gangs. I'm going to be joined next by the lawyer who thinks the government needs to go much further. Stay tuned.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Plenty of warm sunshine across southern parts of the UK this week, but it'll also be fine in Italy. Meanwhile, unsettled in Spain with increasingly wet and windy weather developing. Those showery outbreaks of rain also pushing into Madeira, but the wettest spot will be eastern parts of Spain, the Balearics, where it will be very windy in addition to the wet weather. Italy largely dry with sunny spells, likewise for Greece, albeit with a gusty wind. And similar weather is expected to last throughout much of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Patrick Christys Tonight. Weekdays from 9 p.m.
Well, let's talk about something that has really divided opinion now. So this is King Charles gearing up for a religious festival, not Easter, Ramadan, packing dates for Muslims, observing a month of fasting. Here's the clip.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize the king would be so fast. You are packing dates faster than I can see them.
What do you make of that, Charlie?
Well, I don't see any problems with it. I mean, let's not forget that the royals, particularly the king, does an awful lot of work with a variety of charities, especially those charities that help people who are, down on their luck or need a bit of extra boost. This one is a doorstep charity which provides help to people waiting for new homes. Now, you mentioned this one. This is for Ramadan. Now, in a month's time, Patrick, he'll be doing the Easter service. A Christian festival, and he'll on the day before Good Friday he'll be donating the Maundy money that comes out every year to 30-odd pensioners. It's not a princely sum. They're not going to be able to pay the winter fallouts, or it's not going to cover anything like that. But it is symbolic. Now, he does an awful lot of things. And remember, years and years ago, Charles has always said he didn't want to be defender of the faith. He wanted to be defender of all faith. So it's only right that the king fosters good relationships with a variety of religions.
As well, Charles, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to have you on.
All the
Good to
best.
see you again, mate. It's been a little while. It's Charlie Ray there.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop star to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. So, 2 men in Rotherham have been found guilty of raping teenage girls several times a week for 6 months. Sheffield Crown Court heard how the men befriended 2 schoolgirls at a children's home before plying them with alcohol and cigarettes and sexually abusing them. Well, this comes just 1 month after the Home Secretary bowed to widespread pressure and announced at least some local inquiries into grooming gangs.
Effective local inquiries can delve into far more local detail and deliver more locally relevant answers and change than a lengthy nationwide inquiry can provide. So Tom Crowther, KC, chair of the Telford Inquiry, has agreed to work with the government to develop a new framework for victim-centred, locally led inquiries where they are needed, and as a first step, to work with Oldham Council and up to 4 other pilot areas.
Well, I'm joined now by the lawyer Robin Tilbrook. Robin, you actually want the Home Secretary to go further, don't you?
Much further, yes. We want a proper statutory inquiry under the Inquiries Act that would give appoint a judge who then has powers to force witnesses to attend under subpoena, require them to answer questions, and get documents produced. We want an inquiry, in other words, with the similar teeth and powers to the inquiry that took place into the Post Office, the Royal Mail, with the Horizon scandal. That way, you get to the bottom of what's actually going on. And the problem here isn't just the criminals that you've been talking about. It's also official collusion, councillors, council officials, police officers. There's been a widespread collusion with this huge scandal that's been going on for decades now.
So you think that a judicial review is the only way to try to show the full kind of tangled spider's web of involvement, really?
So the judicial review will force the Home Secretary to set up an inquiry with a judge, who then has these statutory powers to force criminals and those that have colluded with them to give evidence. And that's the important point, that it's an inquiry with teeth. Whereas what the Home Secretary's announced, no teeth at all.
Well, so just on that. So what the Home Secretary says is that these local inquiries are better because they are run by the people who know the area best, therefore know the local circumstances better, and therefore are probably more likely to get right to the meat of it.
Well, none of these inquiries have really got to the meat of it, and of course part of the reason is that they're very often inquiries are being given to an organisation that's implicated in colluding in the first place. And the fact is, we actually need to have an inquiry that really has the power to force witnesses to give evidence, has the power to force documents to be produced, and without that, we're never going to get to the point where we can really get a grip on officials that have misbehaved.
And how are you intending to go about this then? Where are you up to with it?
Yeah, so we have served the Home Secretary with the letter which starts the process of judicial review, and we're expecting to get an answer within the next week or two as to whether or not they're going to agree that they should give set up the inquiry. I would be surprised if the Home Secretary does agree, as you've heard really in that clip. The Home Secretary is likely to be wanting to sort of deflect away from an inquiry that would actually potentially get some Labour politicians into trouble. We know from Dennis McShane, who was the MP at one time for Rotherham, when he tried to mention the fact that there were Muslim child rape gangs operating in Rotherham, he was told to keep quiet by senior Labour people. So there is a problem that goes right to the top.
If they reject it, though, and obviously the argument again would be that, well, there was 14, 15 years of Conservative government and they didn't particularly do that much about it either, right? So that's presumably what Labour would say. But if they decide to reject this, I mean, what can you do? What would you do to try to knock it on?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to apply to the High Court for an order that they do actually comply with their obligations under the Inquiries Act. The Inquiries Act requires the Minister to consider whether or not particular events have caused or are capable of causing public concern. Well, what could be a greater public concern than what's probably the greatest wave of crimes, organised crimes, in this country since the war, maybe even longer than that?
Well, I suppose the public interest and public concern aspect to it is presumably demonstrated by the fact that this continues to pop in and out of the news agenda, but certainly recently was absolutely dominating it as well.
Yes, absolutely. But the Home Secretary was more or less admitting there was public concern in trying to deflect onto these local inquiries.
Well, interesting talk. Well, good luck with everything, obviously, and we'll see how it all goes for you, and make sure that you keep us posted here as to how it all goes, and we can hopefully keep abreast.
We need to have an inquiry that shows whether people are nonce or not in terms of the way that they're reacting to this horrific scandal.
OK, all right. Well, look, hey, thank you very much. It's great to have you on the show. Look, obviously, I will apologise for some of the language that was used at the end there, but there we go. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Robin, coming up at 10 p.m, a Welsh school has sparked outrage after creating an LGBT sensory room for kids with learning disabilities. And that's just half of it. I'll reveal all at 10 p.m. But first, less than 24 hours after President Trump cut off military aid to Ukraine, Zelensky has come running back to the negotiating table. Stay tuned.
Evening. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Another cold one in the south tonight, so a frost first thing tomorrow and some dense patches of fog. For many, though, it's another day of sparkling spring sunshine. The main difference to that will be across the far northwest, where these weather fronts are bringing rain currently, and they'll linger for much of tomorrow. Quite a wet evening across the northwest. That rain just trickling down towards Glasgow. We'll see some patchy rain across the north of Northern Ireland especially, but further south, most of England and Wales staying dry. A bit more cloud across northern England, North Wales, but clear skies in the south, allowing that frost. Quite a contrast with temperatures between the far northwest and the far south. A frost here and some quite dense patches of fog. Now, the fog will take a while to clear, so some of the main routes in and around the southeast, the M4, for example, also the A303, could be quite dense, that fog first thing. But generally fine and bright to start the day across much of England and Wales. Quite a cloudy start for most of Scotland and Northern Ireland, but it will be a mild start, but still quite windy, gusty winds bringing further outbreaks of rain, particularly to the Highlands and the Western Isles, and they'll linger for a good part of the day. With the winds coming from the south-west, the far northeast of Scotland should have some sunshine, and elsewhere, plenty of spring sunshine for England and Wales, probably brightening up a bit through the day across southern Scotland and Northern Ireland. The wet weather, that will persist in the northwest, feeling quite cool here, I imagine, but temperatures widely are well above average, and in the sunshine, look at that, 14, 15, maybe even 16 degrees Celsius. Another chilly start on Thursday. Again, the possibility of a few fog patches in the south. A bit more cloud for Northern Ireland, maybe the odd shower here, but a drier day in western Scotland. Some rain across the far north. Increasing chance of some showers in the west, but for most, Thursday's another day of sunshine and probably the warmest day of the week. 15, 16, maybe 17 Celsius.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight, and less than 24 hours after President Trump paused all US military aid to Ukraine, Zelensky appears to have caved in, pledging to return to the negotiating table. In a statement posted on social media, the Ukrainian leader said, "None of us wants an endless war. Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer." Our meeting in Washington at the White House on Friday did not go the way it was supposed to be. It's regrettable it happened this way. It's time to make things right. I'm joined now by entrepreneur and podcast host Rob Moore. Rob, thank you very much. Oh, you're a very successful man, although I imagine you might have negotiated on a slightly smaller scale before. But is this textbook negotiation from Trump? Has he won here, do you think?
Well, he's winning. And, you know, when you have the power, when you have the money, you can pull back the oxygen, which is money, and you can make threats. And I was talking to my business partner about this, and he hopes that it's just a chess piece move to broker peace. But of course, it makes you worry that maybe he's siding with Russia, and that's bad for Europe. And you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? In terms of purely Zelensky, though, you know, he was quite bullish in the White House. I do actually think, and I'm not going into bat for Zelensky here, because I do have reservations about him. I think there's aspects of him that are brilliant. I think there's aspects of him that are not, right? But I do think the language barrier might have not worked in his favour at times. I certainly don't think he necessarily came with the right attitude. But, you know, he's now going back and it looks as though he's definitely going to sign a minerals deal, and it appears to be that he's going to sign whatever Trump wants, which is ultimately a success for Trump, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It must be difficult. I watched, obviously, a few times that interaction with the vice president, the president and him, and it felt like a lot of strong men puffing their chests like gorillas. But it's a difficult situation for Zelensky, who's in America, who relies on the funding of America. So I had some sympathy for him. But, I mean, I can't remember the last time two major world leaders kind of fell out on the public stage like that. And everyone I've spoken to after that was very worried. Is this the closest we've got to World War III? I mean, you know, I don't want to sound too, you know, doom-mongery, but it was. I was worried. I was worried.
Yeah, and there is, of course, what this means for us now. Now, you know, if we have got our European leaders saying they're going to pump a load more money into defence, or at least a couple of them are, it means our taxes are all going to go up. And I just wonder if there's a question of trust. You know, are we maybe being led into war by a group of people that like to think that they are the good guys, i.e. Europe, and maybe Trump, who's being hailed as the bad guy, does actually want some form of peace?
I understood why Starmer took his stance, but I don't think this move looks good for Europe at all. I really don't, because the undertones are that now Putin has the negotiation power. Because if Trump's pulled money to Ukraine, who has now the stronger negotiation power on the table? Putin, not just Trump, but Putin. And if Trump and Putin are friends, and now Starmer and Zelensky, I think this looks bad for Europe. I don't like it.
I think just from a purely deal perspective, and I know we are dealing with, like, human life here, and in the context of World War III, potentially the evisceration of it. But from a purely deal perspective, though, if it was Trump's objective to get Europe to better arm and defend itself, to pay the cost for that itself, and to get, presumably, tens of billions, if not trillions of dollars worth of minerals out of Ukraine and stop a war, I think he is currently on track for that, isn't he?
Well, I mean, Zelensky didn't say sorry, but he basically did, didn't he? In his, you know, in his long tweet, and basically said, "I'll do whatever you want." I read it and I read it and I read it, and he basically said, "Whatever you want, I'll do." So he's obviously in a weak position, and you know, America are powerful still, and Trump, you know, he slams the desk and he makes bold moves. It is a very bold move. But like I said, I hope he's smart with negotiation, Trump, and he's moving a piece in the chess game. What we all need is peace here, and, you know, we don't need egos.
Well, look, Rob, I'll tell you what, next time I get you on, I promise you that I will not ask you to solve world peace, all right? I'm very sorry. But thank you very much, because I think you've had a really good stab at it. So you take care, mate. All the best. And hopefully there is a next time. Anyway, we'll have to wait and see what the next week holds. Well, we've had Rob Moore there, entrepreneur and podcast host. Thank you very much. Look, coming up, well, we heard a little bit about this earlier, but Meghan Markle's new Netflix show has finally been released.
Flower sprinkles. If we must.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, in the context of what we've just spoken about, I might welcome being turned into radioactive ash if I have to sit through that again, but I'll bring you more of that soon. First, though, a Welsh school has sparked outrage after creating an LGBT sensory room for kids with learning disabilities. And that is just the half of it. I am asking, pretty straightforwardly, why is it that people on the left just don't leave the kids alone? Why are they always trying to indoctrinate them? I'll reveal all next. Stay tuned.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Evening. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Another cold one in the south tonight, so a frost first thing tomorrow and some dense patches of fog. For many, though, it's another day of sparkling spring sunshine. The main difference to that will be across the far northwest, where these weather fronts are bringing rain currently, and they'll linger for much of tomorrow. Quite a wet evening across the northwest. That rain just trickling down towards Glasgow. We'll see some patchy rain across the north of Northern Ireland especially, but further south, most of England and Wales staying dry. A bit more cloud across northern England, North Wales, but clear skies in the south, allowing that frost. Quite a contrast with temperatures between the far northwest and the far south. A frost here and some quite dense patches of fog. Now, the fog will take a while to clear, so some of the main routes in and around the southeast, the M4, for example, so the A303 could be quite dense, that fog first thing. But generally fine and bright to start the day across much of England and Wales. Quite a cloudy start for most of Scotland and Northern Ireland, but it will be a mild start, but still quite windy, gusty winds bringing further outbreaks of rain, particularly to the Highlands and the Western Isles, and they'll linger for a good part of the day. With the winds coming from the south-west, the far northeast of Scotland should have some sunshine, and elsewhere plenty of spring sunshine for England and Wales, probably brightening up a bit through the day across southern Scotland and Northern Ireland. The wet weather that will persist in the northwest, feeling quite cool here, I imagine, but temperatures widely are well above average, and in the sunshine, look at that, 14, 15, maybe even 16 degrees Celsius. Another chilly start on Thursday. Again, the possibility of a few fog patches in the south. A bit more cloud for Northern Ireland, maybe the odd shower here, but a drier day in western Scotland. Some rain across the far north. Increasing chance of some showers in the west, but for most, Thursday's another day of sunshine and probably the warmest day of the week. 15, 16, maybe 17 Celsius.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could be one of two big winners in our latest giveaway, as we have two prize bundles that have to be won. There's two lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on the 7th of March. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight...
Megan, I want to ask about your look.
My who?
Your look. Your look, Megan.
Oh, my look.
Ugh. Meghan Markle has been absolutely panned for her Netflix monstrosity.
I don't think anyone in the world knows that Meghan Markle has eaten Jack in the Box and loves it.
It's so funny, too, that you keep saying Meghan Markle. You know I'm Sussex now.
Oh, grief. It is absolutely insufferable.
Right?
You did a great job.
They wheel out Harry, don't they? Just make it stop. I had to sit through all of that. Anyway, also tonight... A school is accused of indoctrinating special needs kids with ridiculous LGBT rubbish, and one nursery even dressed toddlers in hijabs for a day of inclusivity. Meanwhile...
Climate change is having a devastating effect on communities all over the world, especially the poorest countries and poorest people.
The Church of England chooses to mark the start of Lent by pushing for net zero. And
20,000 troops from some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years.
So J.D. Vance's comments have certainly divided opinion.
J.D. Vance is wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong.
I don't think he actually said that. I think a lot of people are getting carried away.
Yeah, what do you make of it? Has he disrespected Britain? On my panel tonight is the broadcaster and columnist Esther Krakow, GB News presenter Alex Armstrong and journalist Jonathan Liss. And also tonight...
Yes! Yes!
Yeah, I'll tell you what's going on there. And check out this from the Serbian Parliament. Get ready, Britain, here we go. Why can't people on the left just leave the kids alone? Next.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom. The top story just after 10 o'clock. Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine is ready to work under Donald Trump's strong leadership to end the war with Russia. It follows a phone call with Sir Keir Starmer, who welcomed Mr. Zelensky's steadfast commitment to securing peace. The Ukrainian leader is now calling for a truce in the sky and sea if Russia agrees to the same as part of steps towards ending the conflict. It comes as tensions between Kyiv and Washington remain high, with the White House pausing military aid to Ukraine. Here at home, the Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has praised the Ukrainian president for keeping a cool head in what she described as difficult circumstances. A manhunt is underway tonight after a teenage boy was shot dead in broad daylight in Clapham. The 16-year-old was found with gunshot wounds this afternoon but couldn't be saved. No arrests have been made so far, as police are now racing to identify the victim and contact his family. Officers are also combing CCTV and speaking to witnesses, with a crime scene still in place. The Met Police say they'll work around the clock to catch those responsible. A mother has been charged with the murder of her 2-year-old daughter 6 months after she was found in a pond in Hampshire. Annabelle Mackey was discovered unresponsive after vanishing from her home, and she sadly died in hospital the next day. Her mother, Alice Mackey, is due in court tomorrow, accused of killing her own child. Jermaine Janus and his wife, Ellie Penfold, have announced they're splitting up after 16 years together. The former footballer and TV presenter was sacked from the BBC last year following complaints about workplace conduct. His wife confirmed the separation today on social media, saying they will remain friends and co-parent their 4 children. Janus apologised at the time of the incident, insisting he'd done nothing illegal, and has recently returned to broadcasting with Talk Sport. He had been tipped to replace Gary Lineker as host of Match of the Day before his dismissal from the broadcaster. Farmers have been staging another protest in London today over Labour's inheritance tax changes, with a Pancake Day rally near Parliament. They're opposing a planned 20% tax on agricultural land and businesses worth more than £1 million, arguing it will just force land sales and hurt farming families. The Met Police limited the number of tractors allowed on the march under the Public Order Act, a decision that was questioned by politicians, including Nigel Farage, who is urging farmers to put pressure on Labour MPs in rural constituencies. And the King has made a rare visit to a royal warship at sea today, meeting sailors on HMS Prince of Wales before its biggest mission yet. His Majesty flew by helicopter to the aircraft carrier in the Channel and thanked crew there for their extraordinary, valuable service. The £3 billion ship will soon set sail for Japan, leading the UK's strike group in a mission to boost defence partnerships. And his visit today on board was the first time in nearly 40 years a reigning monarch has boarded a Royal Navy ship at sea. Those are the latest headlines. One more roundup from me at 11 o'clock. Now, though, let's get straight back to Patrick.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Why can't people on the left just leave the kids alone? We've had drag queen story hours.
Today what we're going to do is we're going to shout, Free Palestine. Can I hear that? Free Palestine!
We've had a man dressed as a highly graphic sexualised monkey reading to children at a library. That monstrosity turned up to speak to kids aged between 4 and 11. We've had to blur out the naughty bits there. Why? Well, hey, we've had, young schoolgirls in Wales essentially advertising their country to refugees.
Not only is Wales beautiful, but it has loads of privileges too, such as free education, free healthcare, and a great community as well. The best things are the Welsh Refugee Council. Refugee Council is a safe place for refugees and asylum seekers to adapt to their new life. You can get help from the Welsh Refugee Council by having English lessons and getting £40 per week. And you have the opportunity to get a visa.
But now we've got this. A special needs school, also in Wales actually, decided to create an LGBT sensory room. Now, this led to some people calling it, quote, ideological grooming of vulnerable children. Here is the sensory room. I think pumping out in the Navy is probably a bit on the nose, isn't it? But anyway, children as young as 3 years old with profound and complex needs and disabilities attend that school. We are not naming the school, but they got back to us and they said this. During the month of February, in alignment with the Curriculum for Wales guidance and the RSE code, we explored the topic and theme of LGBTQ+ History Month. This included setting up the sensory garden with rainbow-coloured sensory items and engaging students in activities like making rainbow flags and sun catchers. These activities were part of our efforts to help students recognise and value different types of relationships and diversity, including LGBTQ+ diversity. Look, why? Seriously. And now, here we go again. Are you ready for this? A taxpayer-funded nursery school has invited an anti-racism campaign around and dressed up toddlers in hijabs. Again, we are not showing you that school or the children involved for a variety of security reasons, but I will just state that one more time. A nursery school invited an anti-racism campaign around and dressed toddlers up in hijabs. Sorry, but what is all that about? For millions of women all around the world, the hijab is not a choice. It's a symbol of medieval male oppression. We have groups like Amnesty International putting out articles about how women in Iran are brutally oppressed into wearing headscarves, etc. But over here, if you're a group of Welsh toddlers who've barely managed to form words yet, we'll invite round an anti-racism campaigner to dress your child in that same symbol of oppression and laud it as a virtue signalling exercise. Can anyone make that make sense? We've got the Church of England barely wishing everyone a happy Lent. Instead, they're obsessed with net zero.
Climate change is having a devastating effect on communities all over the world, especially the poorest countries and poorest people.
Everywhere you seem to go at the moment, it's all happy Ramadan, isn't it? London's West End has been lit up for Ramadan.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy Ramadan! Assalamu alaikum!
Yes, happy Ramadan, everybody. That's one thing, though, isn't it? That's mostly about adults and potentially some might argue the surrender of traditional British culture, but indoctrinating kids with hijabs and LGBT ideology, that's a bit different. I mean, the ultimate irony is, of course, that those things don't really mix, do they? Now, I don't know about you, but I am sick and tired of woke, entitled weirdo lefties using children as a vehicle to push their radical LGBT, multicultural, often overtly pro-Islamic agenda. Leave the kids alone, eh? Let's get thoughts from my panel this evening. Columnist and broadcaster Esther Krakow. We've got GB News presenter and contributor Alex Armstrong and journalist Jonathan Liss. Esther, I mean, hijabs for toddlers at a Welsh nursery school. Your views on that?
Well, what happened to maths and science and planes? Look, the thing is, if we're speaking objectively, a lot of the things that should be in the home has been abrogated into the schools. So we have teachers teaching kids about relationships and families and all of that. And people are saying, oh, well, they're not going to be taught that at home. They're just making assumptions about what kind of home these kids come from. And so you have teachers who are not really, who are not the parents or not family members of these children, teaching them things that really should be decisions in the home. And now this is extended to, you know, basically treating kids like toys and getting them to play dress up with things that are really not appropriate. I don't know why kids need to learn anything about LGBT anything, really.
Well, I'll tell you why. Can I tell you why?
They don't need to know anything about sexuality. They don't understand sexuality.
When I was at school, there was a law called Section 28, which forbade the promotion of homosexuality as a pretended family relationship. And when I was 14 years old, the Conservative opposition had a 3-line whip on maintaining that disgusting and obscene law. And I, who had a significant degree of homophobic bullying, I felt like every single part of the establishment, from my headmaster, who in a PHSE class, a student said...
Did you realise we're talking about kindergarten children, not secondary school?
Well, that's, right. Let me just... Can I just finish the point? You know, when I was in a PHSE class and a kid in my class said he thought homosexuality was disgusting, and my headmaster said, well, I kind of agree with you. And so it's like the headmaster, it was the school, it was the opposition, the government, it was the church. Every single person, every single institution in Britain, basically, apart from Tony Blair's government, was basically telling us that homosexuality was an illness, it was disgusting, and it shouldn't be promoted.
There are gradations between outright homophobia and indoctrinating people's children with things that the parents...
Where's the indoctrination, Esther?
Excuse me, this is the indoctrination. Children under the age of, like, puberty, basically, so 12, 13, should not be taught anything about sexuality. I don't care if it's from a raging homophobic principal or from someone who is as liberal as they come. I don't care. It's about what's appropriate, because parental rights still exist. I'm sorry you had that terrible experience, and to be frank, that kid probably grew up in a home that should be severely questioned.
Well, that kid grew up to a gay, actually.
However, yeah,
I saw him in a gay club a couple of months ago, and I reminded her about it.
Yeah. We have to be
with the headmaster.
we have to be adults about this. We can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because you had a bad experience at school with clearly a homophobic, or someone struggling with sexuality.
That's not the point I'm making, though. That's not the point I'm making.
We're talking about children here. We're talking about children.
I know we are talking about children.
I think Esther's got a point. I think there's an age... I mean, I think some of the things you mentioned there, like those restrictive laws and stuff, they should be taught. That's education, that's history, right? You can teach those things at an appropriate age and say, this is why this is bad. But to teach that nursery school does feel like indoctrination, and this is the sort of stuff that's happening in schools that it's turning people against LGBT people. It is. The polling is showing a reverse effect, not a positive effect, a reverse effect. And there are certain things in certain times and places to teach young people about these things. And 5 years old, and particularly special needs schools, is not the right time, not the right place.
Can I ask you, Jonathan, about the hijab stuff? Because I know you made your points there about the LGBT side of it, fair enough. But why do you think that there is, you know, things like a toddlers group, a taxpayer-funded nursery school, dressing kids up in hijabs, a symbol, actually, for many women around the world, a symbol of oppression. And we have what is a kind of primarily a lot of, like, middle-class white people expressing their kind of virtues by dressing children up.
First of all, the hijab is not a symbol of oppression. You could argue that the burqa is...
Amnesty International does at times argue that it is.
Look, if the hijab, if a woman is forced to wear the hijab, as in Iran, I agree with you, but there are millions and millions of women around the world who choose to wear it. I would argue the oppression comes in places like France, where women are not allowed to wear certain items of clothing that they are freely choosing to wear. That, like, under the guise of laïcité, secularism, that, I would argue, is oppressive. So, look, people children are exploring the world. They are learning about how the world is, about difference, about how they relate to the world, and they love to play with different things, explore different things. Like children question their gender all the time. When I was 3 years old, I kind of wanted to be a girl like my sisters. I used to go to nursery school wearing an Alice band. I grew out of it. I'm not a trans person.
What you're saying is again, this goes down to parenting, because we always say, oh, children should be allowed to explore. Children need guidance. I wanted to be a frog when I was a kid because I was told they were really cool and they could hop around, which they could. But that's besides the point. Children need guidance and they need boundaries, and that falls onto the parents. There's a reason why schools need to work with parents, because you don't teach children in isolation. They can't be going to school and learning one thing and then going home.
Is there also the other aspect of this, Alex, which is that you kind of couple the things that we're talking about tonight, which many people think are fine, okay, with the fact that we appear to have the retreat of traditional Christian values in this country. So whether that is with things like having Happy Ramadan lining the streets around central London, or whether it is with other aspects like the Church of England apparently being quite reluctant to help people celebrate Lent instead of focusing on net zero.
Yeah, it seems to me that the Church of England particularly has become very political over the years, rather than focusing on...
political.
Well, it's far more political now than it ever has been.
That's
it's focusing on issues like, as Patrick pointed out, net zero and other things. I mean, it even made statements about Donald Trump before, I believe.
Bishops used to slam Thatcher in the day.
Yeah, but I think the point is that England and Britain in general is a Christian country. We have set values, set culture, and there's a rejection of that culture by a mainstream established elite of people on the liberal side of things, but also in the political side of things. We're not adhering to those values. And what you were saying about France banning the burqa and banning headscarves, well, that's French culture. They don't want that in their country. No. So therefore they are entitled to ban it. The same way when my mother went to Iran, she had to wear a headscarf. She was forced at gunpoint to put the headscarf over her.
And that's also wrong.
But that is wrong. But the reality is...
It's not Iranian culture.
It clearly is part of their laws.
It's part of their
traditions.
It's the government
as an Islamic country now. That's what they've chosen. That's what France has chosen. We should respect that. My mother had to, so people who go to France should respect it as well. I massively believe in that. It's their choice, it's their country. And I feel like you have to apologise for English-British culture these days. We have to be apologetic, almost embarrassed of it. If you wave a flag, you're a nationalist, you're BNP, you're this and that.
That's not true. But it is.
I feel like that's where we've got... No, it's not. We've seen politicians criticised people. Emily Thornberry attacked someone for having an England flag outside
She literally took a picture of someone with the St George flag.
You go to a Reform Party rally, you're a Putin apologist, you're a Nazi.
Well, if you say that you support Putin, you are, yes.
No, but no one's saying that. That's my point.
It's not because they're flying the Union flag, they're a Putin apologist.
But people will assume if you go to a Reform Party now, you're a Nazi.
OK, ultimately, Esther, what is the danger for you, do you think, of people in nursery, kids in nursery, being taught things about LGBTQ+, or wearing the hijab?
Well, it's just a licence to be confused. This is the thing. I'm not arguing that, children... Everything... A child has to be exposed to things that are appropriate for their ages. Children... Under the age of 12 or 13 should not be taught anything about sexuality, and they certainly shouldn't be taught anything about sexuality from teachers who might have views and values that oppose that of the homes that they're growing up in. If we're sitting here saying, oh, we should respect people for their own views, OK, why don't we respect people how people want to raise their children? So somehow you can respect it if it validates your worldview, but not if it doesn't validate the worldview of a traditional Catholic family, for example. That's not right. That's not in the spirit of tolerance. I don't really see any reason why children should be taught anything about LGBT this or hijab that. It's just completely inappropriate.
Well, the reason is that...
And I'm sorry if you've had a bad experience, but the solution
I'm not making it about myself, Esther. I'm not making it about myself. That's not what I said either. What I was about to say is that children are exposed to the world, whether we like it or not. And a lot of children might feel when they're literally gaining an identity, and they might be have lots of questions about how they relate to other people. But we don't outsource education to parents only.
Yes, we do. It's not.
We don't because we have schooling in this country.
But it's not your child.
I believe if my children went to a school, hypothetically speaking, that I wouldn't want the school teaching them about certain things, because I want that to be my responsibility.
Well, there might be an opt-out for some subjects.
And I don't want the child to come back and go, you're wrong, Dad, because my school taught me this was a fact. And I go, well, actually, that's not a fact. That's not the way I want you growing up seeing the world. I think that's what people are worried about. Their children are being ideologically indoctrinated. And this confusion thing is right, what Esther's saying,
where do we draw the line? Children are ultimately the responsibility of their parents. I'm sorry if you don't like some of the things that people teach their kids, or you don't agree with some of the values, but teachers do not get to trans that. That is completely inappropriate.
But who says there's any kind of political the political agenda is something that is being inferred.
There is absolutely no way my child in nursery is going to be taught anything.
Well, there's no one saying that children have to become Muslim or gay.
And also, I think it's perfectly acceptable if a young person doesn't want to accept gay sexuality, for example. They should be challenged by that, but not challenged to the point where they're at the age of 5. I mean, what if they don't want to? So we do live in a country of free speech at the end of the day, and I want children to be able to express that, because if we suppress them and oppress them, what's going to happen is that they are going to explode, and they're going to become very dangerous individuals. We're seeing kids getting stabbed on the street, and every single week there's a pupil attacking another pupil because we've created an oppressive system.
Well, there are lots of reasons why that might happen.
But I think that they're more intolerant than they ever have been.
But if there's a way that we can tell children that what they are feeling inside is not wrong, and that they feel...
Why children? Why do you...
Because children are developing an identity.
If you want to influence children so much, I'm sorry, like, start your own family and raise kids how you want. You can't tell other people how to raise their kids.
Well, I think that's a slightly strange thing to say.
No,
I mean,
but it's not.
We all have a role in shaping society. It doesn't have to be people who don't have children. You can still have
the responsibility.
Well, I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that.
The parents have responsibility. They also have responsibility for how their children are raised. There is a way to engineer a society where people are tolerant, where people are open-minded, without having to cram things down on 5-year-old children.
Yeah, but look,
none
of us has children on this panel. We're all entitled to have an opinion about how children should be raised because we're all part of this society.
Yeah, but I'm necessarily not going to encroach on any parents' rights.
There is always a balance between children, between schools and parents. There always has been.
There's no balance.
There is.
The children are the responsibilities of the parents, period.
All right, so the nursery that decided to, at one point, dress children in hijabs for an anti-racism event gave us this comment. They said, "We welcome all children and families to our settings as the Welsh language belongs to everyone in Wales." Which is a bit odd, because not really what we asked them. But anyway, and a spokesperson for the Welsh Refugee Council, I mean, it's nice of them to get back to us, but the Welsh Refugee Council said in 2023, a video from a school project welcoming refugees was released. The Welsh Refugee Council would like to clarify that we did not create or commission the video currently being circulated. While we were not involved in its production, we reshared the post as a positive example of young people championing messages of compassion and inclusion. Right, good stuff. Well, another screeching U-turn, you can win some amazing prize bundles. It includes things like an iPhone 16, 500 quid in shopping vouchers and a whopping 10 grand in tax-free cash. It's the best kind of cash. Hurry, lines close on Friday.
It's just 3 days left to grab your chance to become one of 2 big winners. As we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on Friday. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up, I've got all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and yes, the Church of England does appear to be allergic to marking the start of Lent.
Climate change is having a devastating effect on communities all over the world, especially the poorest countries and poorest people.
Grief, honestly. But before all that...
Megan, I want to ask about your look.
My who?
Your look. Your look, Megan.
Oh, my look.
Oh, my gosh, she's been absolutely panned, Meghan Markle, there, for the latest lifestyle TV series. Netflix has shelled out $100 million to the couple, apparently. Was it money well spent? We'll review that shortly.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day.
bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
We featured the hunt for Piglet, the Chihuahua, who vanished after a burglary on a canal boat in Uxbridge last March.
Well, his owner, Mel, desperate to be reunited, has recruited the services of pet detective Colin Butcher.
And what is a pet detective, Colin?
The best way to describe it is I'm a private detective, but I only specialise in animal cases.
And do you ever have to deal with dog abductions? We know that they're happening more and more now, aren't they? They happen very frequently, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Pet Abduction Act. I still class them as dog thefts because that's what they are.
Yeah, this came in under the Tories, didn't it, in August. So a lot of people wouldn't be aware of this, that it wasn't actually a crime, was it? To steal a dog or cat.
And animals were treated as an item of property, and there's no consideration whatsoever for the owner's torment and mental anguish, which is considerable when your pet goes missing.
Of course it is, Colin. The thing is that if the police treat it like someone's nicked your bike and whatever, that's very unfortunate and you think really bad, but you can always buy a new bike.
Yes.
What is it like, and you've seen it up close and personal, when people lose something so dear to them?
The heart has no way of deciding how much grief and anguish there will be, whether it's a member of your family or whether it's a pet. So you still suffer, but you also have that horrible feeling of guilt that you shouldn't be grieving that way, or you feel guilty that you could have done more before your animal was stolen or went missing. And then there are people thinking, well, it's only a pet. So it's a really, really difficult time for owners.
The People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
OK, welcome back, everybody. So I will be bringing you tomorrow's newspaper front pages, but after she was branded a nightmare to work with by insiders and after a 2-month delay due to the LA wildfires, Meghan Markle's new lifestyle cooking show was released today on Netflix, and it is as insufferable as you would expect it to be.
I don't think anyone in the world knows that Meghan Markle has eaten Jack in the Box and loves it.
It's so funny, too, that you keep saying Meghan Markle. You know I'm Sussex now. You have kids, and you go, no, I share my name with my children. It's a real delight in being able to be a present parent. And it's a luxury sometimes because we all have to work. We all have a lot of stuff to do. It's good, right?
You did a great job.
Thank you. This feels like a new chapter that I'm so excited that I get to share. All of that is just part of that creativity that I've missed so much.
Well, the show has been slammed by basically all viewers and critics who've dubbed it queasy and exhausting and the fakest stuff ever. Well, I'm joined now by the Royal and Entertainment commentator Sarah Louise Robertson. Thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. Your thoughts on what we've just seen here, then?
It's about as fake as Meghan's Hollywood smile.
Yeah.
All those veneers. This was just a superficial gush fest that delivered nothing other than Meghan saying, look at me and my fabulous lifestyle. And it's just, look at me, look at me, look at me. It was hollow, it was vacuous. I sat there watching it, Patrick, waiting for some sort of witty riposte from her or some enlightening comment that was going to endear her to me. And she literally gave nothing. It was sleekly packaged, yes.
Yeah.
Did it look pretty? Yes, of course. Beautiful garden, beautiful kitchen, which wasn't hers, by the way.
No.
Another fake element to it. But what do we find out about Meghan? Nothing.
Do you think
she's just hollow? She's so superficial.
Do you think she doesn't have a personality?
Yeah, I do. That's it. There was just nothing there. You know, you want a kind of a Princess Margaret. You know, you wanted to hear some sort of waspish comment. It's like, come on, Meghan, give us something, please. And there was just nothing. It was. Well, I mean, it was the Meghan show, obviously. I mean, it's her name's in the title. But you learnt really nothing about her, apart from now she wants to be known as Sussex. It's funny, she wasn't bothered about, you know, she ran away from the royal family before. Now it's almost she's trying to get back that sense of royalty. The fact she corrected her friend, Mindy Kaling, on air.
But again, with that, though, I'm sorry,
Yes.
but is she really a friend? I mean...
No, well, exactly. These people aren't really friends, are they? That was another ironic comment, which you just think this is as fake as Meghan. Oh, I love making friends, she said. Really? Well, you've got a funny way of showing it because you're known for ghosting people when they're no longer of use to you. So it was hilarious just hearing some of the stuff that was come out of her mouth. And I mean, everything you just have to question. Like when she was doing the beekeeping, for example, she says, oh, I've been beekeeping for about a year. Then she goes and asks the beekeeper a really, really obvious question, which makes it sound like she just rocked up, put the hat on just for the show. We learnt it's not even her house.
Yeah.
She's standing there. It's patronising, really. She's there, you know, with a £15,000 cooker, pans which are costing £600 upwards. People watching that show, how on earth can they relate to what she was saying? They can't. And it was just stating the bleeding obvious. You know, how to make ice cubes, how to make a jar of bath salts. I mean, really? Come on, Meghan, give us something that we need to learn.
It's also, I mean, as well, I was quite trying to look quite closely about how we think that Harry fits into all of this, because, you know, he's been a little bit taken out of it and taken out of the limelight a bit recently. This was, of course, the Meghan show. I think they wheeled him in a little bit, didn't they, towards the end? But what was your observation about Harry's performance in all of this?
Well, Harry, next to Guy, the dog, who actually was the star of the show, was the lovely dog who sadly is gone. But Harry really did bring that little bit of star quality at the end. Harry, whatever you say about him, he does naturally have charisma in spades. He does. And when he walked in at the end, somehow it did transform. And it would have been lovely to have seen Harry more. But obviously, he doesn't want to be part of it. But I think what we saw about Harry, you know, here's Meghan showing off this vacuous Hollywood lifestyle. She's trying to be like Gwyneth Paltrow, you know, trying to be this Martha Stewart type character. And then you think Harry is a prince. He's the king's son. You don't get a better lifestyle to attain towards than that of the British royal family. And he's left all of that behind. And you think, what on earth is he doing? And I just wonder if he just looked at this and thought, gosh, you know, it was just...
what it's come to?
I think Harry looked to me a little bit forlorn and... Something's going on. I think Harry's checked out. I do. That's what I think. Looking at how he was. Yes, he was sort of physically affectionate with her and he praised her and Meghan was obviously seeking that adulation from him. But I think, does Harry really, really, really belong there? Is that Harry's world? That fake Hollywood world? That world of superficial gloss? No, I don't think it is. Not when his father's the king.
Well, no, quite. I mean, look, there might be some people watching this who think, well, yeah, maybe we should feel a bit sorry for her. It's not all gone away. She is getting... I mean, by the way, it's not just you and I sitting here who are being critical of this. I mean, The Guardian have been there. They're obviously a left-wing outlet. The Guardian have been critical of it. The New Statesman have been critical of it. Mumsnet, people on Mumsnet have been absolutely savage about the whole thing. You know, this is pretty universal.
Look, Meghan's beautiful. She is like a Hollywood princess. I'm sure she's a lovely person. She's got everything she wants, but it was style over substance. And I wanted to see, well, who is the real Meghan? And if that is her,
maybe
that is her. I think it is. And we're not going to get any more than that.
Well, I'm glad that you've got personality in spades. So thank you very much. Absolute pleasure always to have you on the show. I hope to have you on very soon. You take care. Sarah Louise Robertson. That coming up, the very first look at tomorrow's newspaper front pages. I will bring them to you. Oh, and it's all kicked off in the Serbian Parliament. I wonder if we need a little bit more of that over here. Anyway, stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun. Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Plenty of warm sunshine across southern parts of the UK this week, but it'll also be fine in Italy. Meanwhile, unsettled in Spain with increasingly wet and windy weather developing. Those showery outbreaks of rain also pushing into Madeira, but the wettest spot will be eastern parts of Spain, the Balearics, where it will be very windy in addition to the wet weather. Italy largely dry with sunny spells, likewise for Greece, albeit with a gusty wind. And similar weather is expected to last throughout much of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back, everybody. Some of tomorrow's newspaper front pages right now. So let's start with the Daily Express. Clown Vance's slur on 636 war heroes. Veterans branded US Vice President J.D. Vance a clown as he suggested the UK had not fought a war in 30 to 40 years. The Sun, Meg's simpering serving of Telly Schmaltz collapsed like a soggy souffle, says Jane Moore. OK. Gina's dumped by wife is the big headline there. Axed BBC stars break up after 16 years. It's sad news, well, for Jermaine Genius and his wife, and I don't know if they've got any kids, but presumably them as well. Anyway, the Metro. Lest he forgets, US Vice Pres accused of insulting our dead. Row as Trump halts military aid to Ukraine. The Telegraph. Zelensky bows to Trump pressure. Starmer helped persuade Ukraine leader into 11th hour bid to restore peace initiative. They've also got an interesting story here, which we will talk about now, because we haven't yet. Reeves ready to cut public spending to provide extra firepower for military. There is apparently a cabinet revolt looming, and some of that might involve things like net zero, etc. And Alex, I was thinking, there seems to be a growing rumours potentially of Ed Miliband's future.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot about this as well, actually. There's a lot of rumour that Miliband is going to be sacrificed as a result of these potential public spending cuts, which will fall mostly, I'm hearing, on net zero. They've come to the reality that we all came to quite a long time ago, which is net zero is a drag on the economy. It's not boosting it in any way, shape or form, and won't boost the economy till past 2050. So they're realising now, actually...
If ever.
If ever. And so, of course, Ed would have to go, because he is the face of net zero in the country, so he'd have to go.
I'm hearing more than just that. So I hear there's a mini cabinet reshuffle going on. Rachel Reeves obviously is safe as anything because you can't really fire your chancellor. Yvette Cooper is safe-ish for now, but the Lammies and certainly the Milibands of the world are probably going to...
Well, he did say, Keir Starmer said that David Lammy would have a job in his cabinet for definitely until...
Oh, yes, but he'll be, like, you know, in charge of, you know...
Foreign Secretary. So.
Well, I don't know, keeping loo roll in the toilet.
I highly...
Something important like that, which merits his talents.
I highly suspect that Lammy won't be going anywhere at the moment, considering the so-called success Starmer's had with America. So I actually think they'll keep it.
What's interesting with Lammy, though...
I
think they will.
But this is the thing, people don't understand. Have we ever talked about Peter Mandelson as being a US ambassador?
Yeah.
We don't... The people that really matter in terms of our foreign policy do not look at Lammy, or even certainly not Peter Mandelson, with any sort of respect.
Well, I don't think many people look at David Lammy with respect, and also I think he's lost a lot of self-respect, because if he had any self-respect, he'd resign, would he, Jonathan? You know, the foreign aid issue. You know, he is, as he's released videos about, kept awake at night by the plight of the Sudanese. Well, foreign aid's being slashed, isn't it? Obviously, he dislikes Trump massively. He said that, you know, we wouldn't ever really want him in the UK for a visit, and he has to sit in the Oval Office as Starmer pulls out his message from the King. If he had any shame, he'd go, wouldn't he?
I mean, you can't... Your job doesn't depend on who the president is. Clearly, the role of the foreign... Clearly, the role of... Well, J.D. Vance called him America's Hitler, for goodness sake. I mean, look at him now. Look at him now.
What's the difference?
Look, it doesn't matter. Trump loves people who... Trump loves converts, actually. Trump loves people who used to slag him off and then sort of have to come sort of bowing and scraping, because he's a colossal narcissist who wants to be treated as a king. Which brings us neatly to J.D. Vance, doesn't it? Because my dear friend here, Mr. Armstrong, spent today deeply embedded in various parts of J.D. Vance. I'm sorry.
Oh, excuse me?
I thought he was sucking up. I thought he was sucking up.
What if the Vice President's wife would be so happy about that?
Did you hear that?
I thought he was sucking up. I'm glad he was sucking up to him.
OK, we're going to draw a line under this. Goodness gracious me.
Take us off there.
No, but this is, of course, the story about a potential cabinet reshuffle, and we think this could take place. Any idea when this might take place, Esther?
Probably week after next.
You think the week after next?
Yeah, when Trump calms down on Ukraine and no one is inside J.D. Vance.
OK, good. Right, lovely stuff. Torrential rain has wreaked havoc across the Canary Islands, with terrifying scenes of floodwaters sweeping cars into the sea and trapping at least 80 people inside a supermarket in Tenerife. We can show you some footage of this now.
Yes, look at that.
What the fuck is...
Yes! Yes!
OK, well, emergency services have been battling to pump water from submerged streets and car parks as the government scrambles to contain the crisis. Critics warn that Spain's repeated failure to prepare for extreme weather is putting lives at risk. Anyway, shocking floods in Valencia last year as well, of course. But yes, well, look, coming up, we've got loads on. And if you want to not just listen and watch this madness from the comfort of your own homes, but physically be here in the studio so you can experience the kind of horror show that's going on the sofa right now, that all you have to do, right, all you have to do is apply for tickets, and here's how you can. Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Evening. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Another cold one in the south tonight, so a frost first thing tomorrow and some dense patches of fog. For many, though, it's another day of sparkling spring sunshine. The main difference to that will be across the far northwest, where these weather fronts are bringing rain currently, and they'll linger for much of tomorrow. Quite a wet evening across the northwest. That rain just trickling down towards Glasgow. We'll see some patchy rain across the north of Northern Ireland especially, but further south, most of England and Wales staying dry. A bit more cloud across northern England, North Wales, but clear skies in the south, allowing that frost. Quite a contrast with temperatures between the far northwest and the far south. A frost here and some quite dense patches of fog. Now, the fog will take a while to clear, so some of the main routes in and around the southeast, the M4, for example, also the A303, could be quite dense, that fog first thing. But generally fine and bright to start the day across much of England and Wales. Quite a cloudy start for most of Scotland and Northern Ireland, but it will be a mild start, but still quite windy, gusty winds bringing further outbreaks of rain, particularly to the Highlands and the Western Isles, and they'll linger for a good part of the day. With the winds coming from the south-west, the far northeast of Scotland should have some sunshine, and elsewhere, plenty of spring sunshine for England and Wales, probably brightening up a bit through the day across southern Scotland and Northern Ireland. The wet weather, that will persist in the northwest, feeling quite cool here, I imagine, but temperatures widely are well above average, and in the sunshine, look at that, 14, 15, maybe even 16 degrees Celsius. Another chilly start on Thursday. Again, the possibility of a few fog patches in the south. A bit more cloud for Northern Ireland, maybe the odd shower here, but a drier day in western Scotland. Some rain across the far north. Increasing chance of some showers in the west, but for most, Thursday's another day of sunshine and probably the warmest day of the week. 15, 16, maybe 17 Celsius.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Night. Some more front pages for you. The Daily Mail, they absolutely go in on Meghan Markle, of course, but they also go Zelensky's olive branch to Trump after PM's plea. Interesting about they really are. There's a couple of papers trying to craft Keir Starmer as the real kind of Machiavellian puppet master in all of this. The I paper, UK scrambling to save Ukraine peace deal as Zelensky grovels to Trump. The Guardian, I stand ready. Zelensky vows to work with Trump for peace. Statement issued just 24 hours after Washington. This will be music to Trump's ears.
Well, he hasn't got a choice. I mean, if America does hold fast on its pledge not to keep up aid to Ukraine, it'll be over for Ukraine, and he knows it. And Trump is doing exactly what the American electorate voted him to do, which is strength through peace, strength through power, which is very Reagan style, actually. And I'm of the flavour of the month where actually, despite having allegations about being embedded in the vice president, I actually believe that...
You say allegations.
Allegations. Allegations. I'm going to have a whole document.
Can I explain?
One second. I do believe that this is the time for peace, and I think this war is a meat grinder. I agree with everything Marco Rubio said and the vice president said on that. And I think actually now is a good time for this war to end. I don't want any more people to die. I'm not pro-Putin, and everyone keeps telling me I'm pro-Putin. I just want innocent people to
Alex,
stop dying.
Everyone wants the war to end. It has to be. It has to be on terms that are acceptable to the people who've been invaded. This is we talk about this as though this is some kind of. We have to talk. We talk about this.
Wait, or what? It has to be acceptable to them, or what?
Or else there can't be a sustainable peace.
Well, hold on. No,
one country's been invaded.
Yes.
One country has done the invading. This is not just a civil war.
I'll tell you why this is such a good time to end it, because the minerals agreement deal will make sure America has economic interests in Ukraine. If Russia were to attack, well, this is what war is, but if Russia were to attack American interests, it would spark a war, and Russia cannot risk that. America
can't, there has to be security guarantees.
In the world, people need to research how powerful the American military is. It's so powerful, just it alone could defeat almost...
And by the way, you mentioned Reagan before. Reagan would be spinning in his grave right now that the President of the United States is so firmly embedded in Kremlin propaganda, is so firmly, completely aligned with Moscow against traditional allies in Europe. That is completely unprecedented.
We spoke to a Ukrainian MP on GB News here on the weekend, and there's a fantastic MP. He said that behaviour was bad, and everyone can agree both sides behaved bad. I think Zelensky behaved just as badly, if I'm being honest. Yes, he was, and he was being very disrespectful in that office. However, that being said, 80% of Ukrainians want peace. 80% polled in an MRP Survation poll. So if you're against peace right now, you're against the will of the Ukrainian
What kind of peace?
And also, he said the deal is good. It secures, it guarantees security.
How many Ukrainians are in favour of giving up their country to Russia?
So I saw a couple of absolutely ridiculous things just shortly before I came on air. Some clips of some Ukrainian men being rounded up as they were trying to flee the country and put in the back of a van and then driven off to the front line. I also saw what appears to be Russia using people as drone bait, so people who they might not particularly like in their own country, whether they are members of certain minority groups or whatever, tying them up, sending them to the front line and using them as... And just is that the front line, is it?
Yes, it is.
And North Korean soldiers.
A group of Ukrainian men who maybe apart from obviously the ones who do want to fight, don't get me wrong, but Ukrainian men who tried to flee the country who were just put in uniforms and forced out there. A load of, like, Russian blokes tied up and left there to bait drones, and some North Koreans. And it's like, is this what it is?
Yeah, innocent people are being slaughtered en masse, and at the same time there is a peace deal sitting on this table waiting to be signed that secures Ukraine's future and
it does not secure Ukraine. A fifth of Ukraine is currently occupied.
Well, it will secure that future for them, and I don't want any more Ukrainian men. A whole generation of dead.
I don't think Ukrainians want their men dead either. But they have to. They have been invaded, and Russia wants to take more. Of course, they're not. They tried to go to Kyiv 3 years ago.
If we can't stop this war now, it will.
How many ceasefires has Russia breached in the past?
That's the point, isn't it? How many ceasefires have they breached? So that is very much the other side of it. Well, talking of everyone just getting on absolutely fine, everything's hunky-dory, this is great, we're all mates here. Have a look at this from the Serbian Parliament. So Serbian opposition lawmakers have thrown smoke grenades and tear gas inside Parliament, opposing the Serbian government's attitude to protesting students. So there we go. We think we've got it bad here, don't we? But you look at scenes like that, or whether it's somewhere in South America where they're battering each other, you think that's different.
I mean, we really suck at...
I think maybe we should spice up in Parliament a little bit, get some flares in there.
Someone did lob a condom full of corn flour.
It wasn't an MP, mate. It was Fathers for Justice.
A condom, that's an interesting...
It was Fathers for Justice.
Yeah, they did. There you go. Yeah,
it wasn't an MP, though.
They did, yeah.
No, it wasn't an MP, you're right.
I think it was Michael Hestine grabbed the mace once.
Did he?
Oh, well.
You know what? We really suck at protesting. Like, you know, the French are covering the Parliament in manure, and we're just like, you know...
Well, we do that ourselves, guys.
We can't be seen to encourage that kind of behaviour.
Saying...
But anyway, coming up next is Headliners, presented tonight by Josh Howie. Josh, what have you got coming up on a, no doubt, rip-roaring show?
We've got everything. We've got the entire world. We've got geopolitics. We've got Zelensky taking the knee. We've got J.D. Vance. Did he insult the UK? Did he not? He did. We've got zero chance for Miliband. What's going to happen to him? And the UK finally standing up to Iran. And, of course, we've got the Meghan Markle. The thing is, we have Lewis Schaefer on tonight, so I'm not sure if we're actually going to be able to talk about any of those stories.
Well, that is an occupational hazard, I'm afraid, but good luck nonetheless. Josh, thank you very, very much. It will always be a tremendous show. Right, I would just also like to say a massive thank you to my wonderful panel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to everybody who's been watching and listening at home. And if you might have heard a little bit of fruity language from time to time there, we apologise. We thought the microphones were down, but hey, we're all friends here. Most of us are adults. It's past the and I'm sure we'll all move on. And with that in mind, why not decide to come and witness this live? You can watch it every single Friday. Go to gbnews.com/tickets. Please come along and join my live Friday night audience show. There's a few sausage rolls thrown in. There's a bit of booze as well, but not too much, you know. There are laws here. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Evening. Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Another cold one in the south tonight, so a frost first thing tomorrow and some dense patches of fog. For many, though, it's another day of sparkling spring sunshine. The main difference to that will be across the far northwest, where these weather fronts are bringing rain currently, and they'll linger for much of tomorrow. Quite a wet evening across the northwest. That rain just trickling down towards Glasgow. We'll see some patchy rain across the north of Northern Ireland especially, but further south, most of England and Wales staying dry. A bit more cloud across northern England, North Wales, but clear skies in the south, allowing that frost quite a contrast with temperatures between the far northwest and the far south. A frost here and some quite dense patches of fog. Now, the fog will take a while to clear, so some of the main routes in and around the southeast, the M4, for example, so the A303 could be quite dense, that fog, first thing. But generally fine and bright to start the day across much of England and Wales. Quite a cloudy start for most of Scotland and Northern Ireland, but it will be a mild start, but still quite windy. Gusty winds bringing further outbreaks of rain, particularly to the Highlands and the Western Isles, and they'll linger for a good part of the day. With the winds coming from the south-west, the far northeast of Scotland should have some sunshine, and elsewhere plenty of spring sunshine for England and Wales, probably brightening up a bit through the day across southern Scotland and Northern Ireland. The wet weather that will persist in the northwest, feeling quite cool here, I imagine, but temperatures widely are well above average. And in the sunshine, look at that, 14, 15, maybe even 16 degrees Celsius. Another chilly start on Thursday. Again, the possibility of a few fog patches in the south. A bit more cloud for Northern Ireland, maybe the odd shower here, but a drier day in western Scotland. Some rain across the far north. Increasing chance of some showers in the west, but for most, Thursday's another day of sunshine and probably the warmest day of the week. 15, 16, maybe 17 Celsius.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could be one of 2 big winners in our latest giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. Hurry, lines close on the 7th of March. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Last week, Christys auction house in New York announced that it was holding an auction devoted solely to art created with artificial intelligence. Nearly 6,000 people have signed an open letter calling on Christys to cancel the sale over concerns that the technology behind such AI art pieces exploits human artists and can potentially violate their copyright. And there are broader ethical questions at play too. Where do the boundaries of art lie? With me now is James Thomas from Martin Stanmore Auctions. James, very good to see you indeed. I don't quite see how you can have art without a human being. I mean, art to me is something which is produced by a human being which expresses something about the human condition. To me, that cannot be produced by a machine. How do you react to that?
I agree completely with what you're saying there. I think for us at Martin Stanmore, we're very much about sort of getting behind artists in a traditional method.
I sometimes say to my team, you know, I've got a piece to camera to do now. Find out what AI would say that I would say. And, of course, what it comes up with. It doesn't have enough knowledge about what I've just experienced, so it's not a perfect example. But it certainly gets the tone. And, therefore, I mean, I'm completely replaceable. I mean, you know, the next series that I do...
Say that.
Well, thank you so much. The next series I do of Railway Judges, you could perfectly well have an avatar and AI producing words that sound like mine.
It is very scary. It is very scary. And I think for collectors and investors, it's a bit scary for them too. I mean, a lot of our collectors at Martin Stanmore that we speak to, they very much prefer things that come from traditional artists, not just sort of blue chip works, but also up and coming artists.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
It's 11 o'clock, which means it's time for tomorrow's newspapers tonight. Over the next hour, you're going to find out, has peace been achieved? Is it the end for Ed Miliband? And why have flat earthers been identified as nasty and cruel? I'm Josh Howie, and tonight I'm joined by group therapy chums Lewis Schaefer and Adam Kumas to take you through Wednesday's top stories. This is Headliners. But before tomorrow's news, let's go to tonight's headlines with Sam Francis.
Josh, thank you, and a very good evening to you. Just after 11 o'clock, the top story, Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine is ready to work under Donald Trump's strong leadership to end the war with Russia. It follows a phone call with Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, who welcomed Mr Zelensky's steadfast commitment to securing peace. The Ukrainian leader is calling for a truce in the sky and the sea if Russia agrees to the same as part of steps towards ending the conflict. It comes, though, as tensions between Kyiv and Washington remain high, with the White House pausing military aid to Ukraine. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has praised the Ukrainian president, though, for, she says, keeping a cool head in difficult circumstances. Farmers have been staging another protest in London today.